I believe that we can all agree that there is something wrong with the world and with humanity at large ever since since the dawn of modern civilization. I would say, give or take, since about 10,000 years. Because there's always been conflicts and struggles and wars. And I spent a lot of time thinking about what it is exactly that is wrong and that causes these behaviors and the suffering. And I haven't found a very even like a proper concept to describe this behavior. Because here's the problem. Whenever you ask about this, whenever you question this behavior, it's told to you that this is just human nature. But this, in my opinion, is wrong. I don't believe it is human nature to be suppressive and dominant and conquering. And there are a lot of arguments to be made that support either the notion that humans are by nature or violent and oppressive, but there are also plenty of arguments that can be made to support the notion that human nature is loving and compassionate. And my personal argument is that, because I know there are so many examples to be made for either side, I don't really want to meddle with this. But my argument is that I know myself, I know my own nature, I am a human, so I can speak for human nature, and I can tell that it is not my nature to infringe upon anyone's free will, to dominate anyone, to be violent in any way, to be suppressive, to be thirsty for power and lust and dominance. That is not my nature. And I don't believe that is human nature. So then what do we call these behaviors? What do we call these patterns that have been playing out for thousands of years? I never knew a good word for it, but I did ask ChatGPT to come up with something, and it actually gave a pretty nice word to describe this, I will call it, ideology, and that is dominationism. It doesn't really exist as a word, which is maybe a good thing, because this is a concept that I don't feel has ever really been ascribed a word. So let's do that now. Let's take this moment to ascribe the word dominationism to the philosophy and to the ideology and to the worldview that states that the highest good there is to express your dominance in any way, shape, or form possible, preferably over other people, and it doesn't matter how. There is no morality to dominationism. The only thing that dominationism states is that dominance is the end goal. And this, I believe, is what has led humans This is the philosophy that has led humans for the last thousands of years to shape the world that we live in today. And I still believe that this is the very philosophy that drives most people today. And I also believe that this happens mostly subconsciously, like 90% subconsciously, because it is so assumed to be true. It is so embedded into people's minds that this is the way things work, this is human nature. You see all those wars every day that you read the news, you are reminded of this. It is constantly reinforced to the point where it is not only not even questioned anymore, there isn't even a word for it. So then, the first step in changing or resolving anything is to become aware of it. And we cannot become aware of something that we do not even have a word to describe for. Which is why I'm personally quite happy with the fact that I have a nice word to describe a phenomenon that I was unable to describe well before. Now, what is interesting is that since I don't believe or see or observe human nature to be domineering, how is it then possible that this has been the course of our civilization? And I don't know. But what I do know is that it is easy to see that this is not human nature simply by the fact that no one is born like this. No child is born with the intention to vilify, to destroy, to dominate. People have many facets when they're born. Human nature is not very simple. But it is by no means a pure quest for dominance. And this ideology of dominationism has to be reinforced continually. Because if it wouldn't be reinforced, then we would fall back onto the truth, which is our own human nature. And I don't really know a good word for how to describe human nature then, but I would consider it to be something more cooperative and reciprocal and non-hierarchical and social and even spiritual, because everyone desires to be happy and to be joyful, and these are more so spiritual desires than materialistic desires. Now, we could also call this ideology of dominationism Darwinism, because it matches very well with the theory of Darwinism, which comes down to survival of the fittest. It states that life is like a battleground for survival, and the strongest dominate the weakest, and that's how it has always been. Or in the words of Robert California from The Office.
Yes.
Jim, would you prefer a nature metaphor or a sexual metaphor?
Oh God, nature, please.
When two animals are having sex, one of them is communicating a message to the other. Nothing is, this isn't very helpful. You're going to want to hear the sexual metaphor.
Was that not the...
All life is sex, and all sex is competition. And there are no rules to that game. That wasn't so perverted now, was it?
Was that it? No, that wasn't bad.
My point is, there is one person in charge of every office in America, and that person is Charles Darwin. In the end, doesn't he decide who the manager is?
The point is that Darwinism, that this ideology of dominationism is so much older than Darwinism is. I think the idea of the survival of the fittest only is a sort of representation of the ideology that already that people already carried. And speaking of Darwinism, I also believe that I'm not an expert on all the things that he said. And the one thing that I did read about it is that in the book in which Charles Darwin talked about survival of the fittest and natural selection, he also talked about the ability to cooperate from animals and the ability to adapt and how important these things were to survive. But then people didn't read the source material. Instead, there was an interpreter, a German interpreter, who took that work from Darwin, and he was the one who made the phrase survival of the fittest popular. It was not Darwin himself that thought like, oh, life is just a fight to survive. No, that was basically misinformation from way back then. In the same way that today, someone will take a video clip of you out of context and cut it together with a couple other things in order to make it seem like you meant something completely different from what you actually said. So, but it ties in a lot with the idea from Darwinism, from survival of the fittest. Now, here's one thing that I find really interesting is that over the years, people have fought and believed in so many different ideologies, so many different ideas, and they were all trying to dominate others with their ideology. For instance, Christianity and Islam, they're still doing that to this day. Or even atheists versus religious people. They are still fighting for which ideology is the most dominant one. And everyone's convinced that their ideology is the true ideology. And every other ideology is a threat. Which is insane. But that's dominationism. And what's especially interesting is that even though there have been so many ideologies and countries and even companies that do this too, companies that want to be the biggest company, the best company, they want to be unbeaten, they have no competition, suppress others, etc. Even people do it in sports. People want to be the greatest sports player, the greatest speed runner, beat all the other competition, and in other words, be the most dominant. Dominance is the end goal. An interesting thing is that these conflicts are always happening. It's always causing so much pain. But under the surface, everyone actually believes the same thing, which is this dominationism. They're all ascribed to the same ideology of dominationism. They all believe that their ideas should become the most powerful ones. And in this sense, it is very ironic, but there has never been a real competition of any ideology. Because everyone always believes in dominationism. The only real competition that there has been between those people who do not believe in dominationism, those people who believe in a benevolent human nature, and those who do not want to partake in any of these domination games. But you don't hear about those people because because dominationism is too dominant. So I believe that seeing things this way and at least having this concept can help us better understand our world and better navigate it, and perhaps even better talk about it until hopefully we can resolve it. Because in the end, human nature does not seek domination. Human nature seeks joy and recreation and creation and co-creation. Those things are human nature. Domination is an aberration, and I would like to know why it exists, but I don't. Not yet. Alright. That's my talk for today. Goodbye.